there, guys. Welcome to Mindset. As you know, like if I start the show off very weird or if I'm laughing, can only mean one thing. This. Looney and Lou are in the house, guys, to bring you an awesome grade 11 life sciences show. Lou, how are you?
All right, and yourself?
Good, thanks. What are we doing for the grade 11s?
Biodiversity of plants.
All
Huh?
right.
Which is what?
The plants.
Plants, I love it.
Yes, of course. Mindset, as you heard it, we're doing biodiversity of plants. I'm going to learn together with you guys. Make sure you do get your notes, your videos, and the schedules on learn.mindset.co.za. And you hit us up on Facebook and Twitter at LearnExtra. It's the month of love, right? Like, yeah, February, Valentine's Day. So what we're doing on our Facebook page is that we want you guys to show your love by posting either a picture of you and your special person, or of you and your dog or your cat, your little mouse, anything, guys. Just show your love. You must be in the picture and make sure you hashtag it, show your love, and then tell us why it means so much to you. So, for example, I post a picture of me and Lou, and I'll be like, because Lou's the best teacher, and Lou always like teaches me like new things when it's life, like stuff like that. So yeah, you get the drift. Thanks.
She didn't mention one part, did she? But she loves you. That's all that matters. Right.
Yes.
Biodiversity
special,
of
man.
plants. Of course you don't love me. I know I feel the same way. The nice thing about this is we're going to do a thing called pteridophyta. And on that, you get a prothallus. And that prothallus is in the shape of a heart. Best time to do it.
Yes, you see?
Hey, how awesome is
Timing.
that?
Yes.
Sorry, that was just to start it off. Right, so let's have a look at it. In this lesson, right, different descriptions, we're gonna, and I remember to get a pen, right? Let's use pink, right? In this lesson, we're gonna look at how plants are classified. Classification is which order or where are they put, right? Then we're gonna look at alternation of generation. I know that's a huge word, but it's very important. Okay, it's quite cool. It is quite cool, right? Then we're going to summarize the main characteristics. We're going to have a look at the main characteristics of the 4 different types of plants that we get. So if we have a look, or 4 different groups, sorry, not types of plant, 4 different groups of plants, and they are Bryophyta, we get Pteridophyta, Gymnosperms, and Angiosperms. Those are the 4, and we're going to have a quick look at them, and then I'm going to give you some questions, right? And then we're going to look at the ecological importance of the 4 groups of plants. So why are they important in our world? Okay, which is big things. You can't just get rid of these plants, right? So let's start off. First thing, big question, right? Looney, do you think you can answer that question, huh? Or do you think you need help? I think you need help.
Right, explain what is meant by alternation of generations in plants. No, I need help. A lot of help.
Explain what is meant. So you got to explain what is meant by alternation of generations in plants. So, if you don't mind, I've always said when I ask a question, right, I become like a plank, nothing inside. You need to teach me something, right? So help Looney and myself out and answer this question for us. Hey, what do you think, Looney?
Yes, please.
Please,
help.
give it to me. Right, so let's begin. First of all, we're going to have a look at classification of plants, right? We know, well, in the beginning, they classified plants, right, as 2 different things. First of all, they took plants and put it as ones that have vascular tissue and ones that don't have vascular tissue. Now, you sitting back there and saying, what is vascular tissue? Well, let's get through it, right? As I said, through the evolvement or the evolution, okay, of plants, this is what happened. We're looking at plants, how it came from the most easiest thing to the most difficult. Because they say through evolution, you went from the easiest to the most difficult. Now, first thing, we classify it according to its vascular tissue, as I was saying. Now, vascular tissue is quite cool, okay? Bryophytes, we're going to get there, bryophytes are small green plants and do not have vascular tissue. They don't have vascular tissue. So if I had to put that into words of myself, now please understand, I am not moss, but I have veins. and arteries. Okay, that would be round about the same as vascular tissues. So in other words, I have veins and arteries, they wouldn't have veins and arteries. So in actual fact, you say moss does not have xylem and phloem tissue. Xylem does water, phloem does food. Okay, so they do not have xylem and phloem tissue. Therefore, they do not have vascular tissue. Nice and easy. Hey, I hope you're listening, my dear.
Mm-hmm.
Good.
Yes.
She hasn't got a clue yet. Right. As I was saying, they do not have this vascular tissues. Let me increase this page a bit so we can get up there. Then you get the rest of them, which is tracheophytes, which includes two types of plants, right? It is called the pteridophytes. And now me, personally, right, I like saying pteridophyte. I know it's not the real word, okay? But I do it because I remember the P. I normally forget the P. So it's pteridophytes, right? Don't forget the P. And which are called gymnosperms, and we get angiosperms. Okay, pteridophytes are your specific plants. Gymnosperms are your specific plants, and your angiosperms are your specific plants. Right, so all three are different, and each one of them have vascular tissue in the form of xylem and phloem. Very nice, very easy. Right, so, Looney,
Yes.
can you please tell me what xylem and phloem is? See, I told you she wasn't listening.
Oh, man, Ace.
I did love it a bit. I'll keep that question for her. What is xylem and phloem? Because I did tell
Ace,
you.
man.
Now, moss, right? We're going to start with the most simplest plant, right? And then we're going to go to the most complex. So you must listen carefully so we can get this right. Okay, we're going to first have a look at the bryophyta, right? Now, the bryophyta, a simple bryophyta, is moss, okay? And moss has, what makes this thing important is that it's a thallus, and a thallus means it's got no true root stems or leaves. Let me do that again. No true roots, stems, or leaves, okay? That's the first most important thing. And the second thing is they go through this thing called alternation of generation. Okay, so they alternate between two different generations. Now, what does that mean? When I've asked people that before, alternation of generation, they were giving me these things about the generation where we alternate from being a small boy to a big person and back to a small person. Not going to work. Right, when it comes to moss, okay, we're looking at alternation of generation according to two things. The number of chromosomes that they have inside each cell. Now, you will know that you get two things. You get 2n, right? And you get n. N is a specific number. 2n is double n, right? If you do maths, 2 times n is whatever n is, okay? So, if I have, let's say, 10 here, what would we have as 2n? It would be 20. We cool. Nice. Now, this is classified as haploid, and 2n is classified as diploid. Okay, so we're looking at alternation of generations is part of the moss is going to be in the N phase, and part of the moss is going to be in the 2n phase, or part in the diploid, part in the haploid. Okay, that is where we're going to start. Now, when it comes to moss, I'm going to increase this so we can see it. When it comes to moss, okay, this is the life cycle of moss. Now, important thing is, remember, this goes into two different generations. With moss, the strange thing about moss, because it only happens in moss, the most common stage, right, is the haploid stage. In other words, it is the gamete stage. So let me put it in this way. Mom and dad, right, they get together, right? Mom and dad get together. Dad makes sperm, mom makes eggs, right? Those little eggs grow up, and the eggs come together. Now, when the eggs come together, well, the egg and the sperm comes together, that makes a diploid. But a sperm is a haploid, and an egg is a haploid, okay? Now, when I say to you, which lives longer, right? Does your dad live longer, or does your dad's sperm live longer? okay? It's the sperm that's not quick, right? It doesn't last long. Sperm dies very quickly. But in this plant, it's the other way around, okay? The big one dies quickly, but the sperm doesn't. Okay, so let me put it this way. This will be 2N, and this will be N. What happens is, the sporophyte generation, right, it makes this thing called spores, which are gametes, right? The gametes is half the amount of number. The gametes land on the ground, right? How do we make, by the way, how do we make gametes? We go through this main process called meiosis, right? The gametes fall on the ground, the gametes grow into its own little plants, right? When conditions are favorable, right, these plants produce a sperm and an egg, and they get together to make a new plant. Okay, that is alternation of generation. So just go over it carefully and listen very carefully and read over it carefully and try and understand it. It is a very difficult part. But alternation of generation, this is very important with a moss. Right. Now, so that's the alternation, what's it called? The gametophyte generation, going to create the different gametes again. The gametes are going to get together, form a new plant or a new sporophyte generation. Right. So I'm going to carry on because I want to get to the questions and that so we can understand it. Okay. So as I was saying, bryophyte, for example, moss, right? They are, the most important one is the gametophyte generation is dominant. In other words, it lasts longer. Okay. Then plant bodies are known as thallus. What does thallus mean? It means no true root stems or leaves. Nice and easy. Okay. Then the plant is made up of specific parts. You know, it's divided into certain things. Now the roots, because it's not true, right, we call them rhizoids. Okay. The roots are called rhizoids. They're not true roots, but they still do the same thing. They still absorb, they still anchor the plant down. Okay, so it's exactly the same things. They've also got a thing called a stalk, right? But that is the next part. Only this piece here, the gametophyte generation, does not have the next part. There's different parts of the plants that we need. Right now, this plant has rhizoids. That's the most important part. Okay, if we look at the sporophyte generation, in other words, the biggest part, okay, the part that doesn't last as long, okay, that part has specific things, okay. It has got, if I can move this down, gametophyte generation consists of a foot. The gametophyte generation has got, the sporophyte generation has got a foot which sits on top of the gametophyte generation, right? It's got a foot, it's got a seta, which is actually like a stem, a small little stem, and it's got this thing called a sporangium, which is a capsule that holds the spores in it. Okay. That whole thing there is very important. And they produce, the sporangium makes new gametophytes, or little sperms or little eggs. Well, actually little sperms, little gametes. Okay. So that part, that whole part of that, of the sporangium, is to make that. Okay. The moss is autotrophic. It makes its own food. Okay. It doesn't need to hunt, makes its own food. Okay. And if I have a good look at it, that's what it looks like. Okay. The bottom pieces here, you see these little dark green, right? That there is your gametophyte generation. And these little stems, if you look, there's a little stem up there with a little head. That part is the sporophyte generation. Okay? Nice and easy. I hope you are listening, Looney. I'm trying to get through this so that when I give you questions, you'll understand it. Okay, the next one we're going to have a look at is your pteridophytes, right? And the common one that we know is your fern, right? Now, it also has alternation of generation. But the main thing about this one is the gametophyte doesn't last as long as the sporophyte generation. Okay, so let's have a look at it. Sporophyte generation is dominant, which is different to the moss, right? It has adventitious roots, okay, which is rhizomes, okay? Rhizomes, which is a stem, for example, underground stem, okay? Now, adventitious roots, rhizomes, underground stem, so it has got true root stems and leaves. You with me? So we know that it's got true root stems and leaves. And it's got a fronds, which are its leaves. So it's beautiful long leaves. Right. Now, sporophyte generation has a well-developed vascular tissue. So it's on the opposite side. You get non-vascular plants and vascular plants. Remember it. Okay? Sporophyte generation, of course, is autotrophic, but so is the gametophyte generation. Hey? Both of them, the gametophyte generation is a small thing. Okay? That little thing is called a prothallus with specialized tissue. Okay? The prothallus is also autotrophic. Now remember, before we even started this, I said to you, there's a specific thing, right? And it's the month of love, so the prothallus looks like that. And it's very small. We can't get it. Right, so I will try and find one, but I promise you I've looked for years. I can't find one. But I will carry on looking just for you. And there's, as you can see, there is a fern. Hey? You know what a fern is, hey, Looney?
Mm-hmm.
Good girl. Now, gymnosperms. Gymnosperms are quite nice. Gymnosperms, you find, they normally have them in the cold regions with ice, right? So the snow in that, sometimes, okay? It's actually called, some of them, your cone-bearing plants, right? Because gymnosperms means cone-bearing plants. Now, their most dominant part of their life is, of course, the sporophyte generation, okay? The gymnosperms are let me just get that right because it's going to be a long day to get these things right. It's heterosporous. Heterosporous is very cool because heterosporous means that one spore is smaller than the other and one spore is male and one spore is female. Okay, so heterosporous, one is very small, one is very big, one is male, one is female. The male is microspore and the female is macrospore. In other words, macro, you can see it, micro, you can't. Okay, so the nice ones, or the common ones that we see, is your cycad, right? And your pines. Your pines, you know your pine cones, and you get those big pine cones that a lot of people burn. Have you ever seen them burn them? They burn them and they make a nice quick fire. They're actually quite nice, right? Pines have a well-developed stem and root system. Okay, they've got to stay in the ground. The wind can blow, but we need to keep that stuff there. Okay, as I said, both male and female cones occur on one tree, which is nice. Okay, one tree has male and female. Okay, and then the male cone produces pollen grains. Okay, and which are microspores, and the female cones produce megaspores. One is small, one is big. Right, and that is a very important thing because we're getting more complex. Have you noticed how we're getting more and more complex all the time? Okay, and the last plant we need to look at is your angiosperms. Now, your angiosperms are called your flowering plants. Okay, their most dominant part of their life cycle, of course, is the same thing, the sporophyte generation, which means they diploid. Okay, don't forget the diploid. Okay. They are divided into monocotyledonous plants and dicotyledonous plants. Right, and I think that's where we need to leave it for a break. Okay, I've given you the quick roundabout thing, okay? When we come back, I think we need to get some questions and take it from there. What do you think?
Yes, can do that.
I'm first going to ask her what that xylem and phloem is.
No, I can actually answer right now. Guys, we are going to take a break. Quick shout out to Bongi, Apiwe, Sharon, Tabete, Dumsani, Runyararo, Tepiso, Koketso, Precious, Libya, Jackson, Mukove, and Zaki. Thank you so much, guys, for tuning in. See, now I'm multitasking, iPad,
and we love a lot.
Yes. No, what are you talking about? We'll see you straight after this break. Welcome back, Mindsetters, from that break. I hope you guys are nicely stretched and you drank some water, had some juice, and now you're fine. And Lou's going to give us a lesson.
So, Looney, tell me about that question.
No, wait.
What is xylem and phloem?
You can't ask me that right now.
I can't ask you. She's trying to cheat here. trying to
I'll
cheat.
tell you. I'll tell you now.
You'll tell me now, okay?
Yes.
Okay, I'm going to give you a little bit longer. Now,
Yes.
questions. Okay, got some questions for you. Let's see if you can answer it. Okay, the diagram below represents the life cycle, okay, the life cycle of a bryophyte. Bryophyte, what is it? Moss. Good. Now, it's moss. That's all it is. Now, let's put it up to there. Write down the number and the name, okay? So it gives you, wants you to do two things. Wants the number and the names of two different structures that photosynthesize. Now, if you ask me, honestly, none of that photosynthesizes because it's black and white. Huh? Photosynthesizing, you've got to be what color, Looney, to photosynthesize?
Green.
And she says she
Am I
doesn't
right?
listen. She's perfect.
Oh.
Spot on. Right. There is two places that can photosynthesize there. First of all, this part, right? Can you see it? What is that? I will have a look at that thing because it's a plant, right? And second of all, can you see the part of the plants there? I'd have a look at that thing. Right. So I want to look at two things. First of all, I want to have a look at 1 and 9. Okay, 1 and 9. Hey, I need to go to, where's it? There we go. 1 and 9, okay, is your leaf, and 9 is your sporangium. Okay, so the sporangium, which is that part, okay, and your leaf, which is 1 over there. Okay, next question. It's nice and easy. These are very simple questions. If you start learning and you start understanding your life cycle, it becomes very easy. Okay, next question is, name the structure, there it is, name the structure, there, numbered 2, and state its function. Number 2. Wait, look here. There it is. There it is. It's these funny little white things that's coming out here. What are those called? Right? Those things are quite cool. What they do, did I ask for its function? Oh, so I must give it. What they do, I'm going to give you the function, so listen carefully. What they do is they sit in the ground so that when the wind blows, they don't get thrown over, which means they anchor. And second of all, we take stuff out of the ground. In other words, it absorbs the nutrients and food. Okay? But why I didn't tell you the names is because remember I gave you this big name called thallus, right? Thallus. You know what a thallus is?
Mm-hmm. Oh, what? A
Thallus.
Thallus.
Thallus, yeah.
Thallus.
A thallus.
Never heard of that word in my life.
I said it like 10 times today. And I explained what it was. You've
No.
never heard. Yes.
Mm-mm. To me
Yes.
or to them.
Same thing. You know what? That's why I know you are bright. Hey, Lenny.
Of course.
I've got to love you for this. You know that?
Yes.
Got to love you. Right. This thing here, this whole plant is called a thallus because it doesn't have true roots, stems, or leaves. Can you remember that? Okay, she doesn't. Right. So I'm going to have a look at it. That is called, okay, it's called a rhizoid. Okay? The rhizoids are the ones that are anchors the plant of the moss, anchors the plant, right? And it absorbs all the nutrients, all the nutrients we need. The English is getting worse.
It's going.
It's the heat in here. With uni in here, it's just too hot, you know? Good-looking girls like that shouldn't come in here.
Hey, Shkanjai.
Next one. Describe the role played by the parts numbered 1, 5, 7, 8. 1, 5, 7, 8. This is how you do it. 1, 5, 7, 8. You keep saying it. 1, 5, 7, 8. And it is 1, 5, 7, 8. Just so that I can show you. Right. So, let's see. Here's 1. What is 1 for? 1 is for photosynthesis. Remember, it's green. It's a leaf. So, 1 is for photosynthesis. Makes the food. Right? 5. Where's 5? Ah, there it is. Ooh, what is that? Now, remember, I spoke to you about this little plant, right? Grows in there, it's haploid, and all of a sudden it makes male gametes, right? So that it can go to the female to grow a new sporophyte generation, okay? So what is 5? What's its job? It is to make the male gametes. Let me just make sure that it is pointing, that's it. Number 5 is to make male gametes. Number 7 is the next one. There it is. Number 7. What is that? Number 7, okay? This is this whole structure here. Okay? Now, that, to me, is the female part of the plant, right? Of the gametophyte generation. That's the female part of the plant. Which means, if I understand it, if I look at most plants, the female part of a plant, or let's say the male part of a plant, is your andrecium, and your female is your gynoecium. Right, so that is the one. And then if I have a look at 8, it's pointing to this little thing over here, and it is called let's see if you can get it right. Looney, what do you think number 8 is? It's a little dot inside there. You are what, male or female?
I'm female.
Female. And what is the female part that reproduces? Don't say egg though.
Ovaries.
Not ovaries. It makes that makes the egg. It's like we make male gametes. What do you think that is?
I don't know.
If I make male gametes,
Female.
That's female what?
What did you say? What?
Gametes.
Gametes.
So it's a female. We'll teach her. Me and you will teach her something by the end of today.
You shall do that. Thank
Okay,
you.
so let's have a look. Right. There it is. Okay, number 3. Get my pen out here. Number 3. Right? Did I say what? It was 3, not... Why didn't you tell me it's 3 and not 1? You see, I'm looking like a clown. I said 1. Come on, man. It's 3. I've told you about 1 now. Number 3 is this part here. Okay? That piece there. Now, what that actually does, it encapsulates or holds on, right, the part that makes the male gametes. Okay? That is what 3 does. It protects the andrecium. Okay? So, next time, at least give me a clue that I'm looking at 3 and not 1. Come, you see what happens when you don't concentrate. Right. You can smile, it's fine. Protects the sexual organs or the male gametes. Right, that's number 3. Number 5 is the andrecium, which produces the male gametes. Remember I said that. Then we're going to get to the next one. Number 7, archegonium, which produces the female gametes. Right? The gynoecium, we can also say that, but mostly it's the archegonium. But next one, female gametes, which you were right. Oh, she doesn't look interested today.
I am. What
Female
are you talking
gametes,
about?
which develops and eggs develop into, I said, the sporophyte generation after fertilization. Okay? Now, let's carry on. Write down the number of the part which represents the sporophyte generation. Let's go up here again. Now, if I have a look at this, can it be this one? There's no ways. This is just magnification of that. Okay? That is still magnification of that. Now, this piece here, have a look here. Can you see that piece there looks similar to that piece there? Can you see it? That is your gametophyte generation, gametophyte generation, gametophyte generation. This here, this piece, is your gametophyte generation. What grows on top of the gametophyte generation? It's your sporophyte generation. So what numbers represented? It's number 9 and 10. Can you see? It's this whole part plus that, the whole piece. Okay, so let's bring it down. We'll have a look. If I can find, that's it. It is 9 and 10. I hope you guys got that before I did. Hey? Looney is thinking, I can see the smoke coming out there. Can see the smoke.
It's late for me, hey?
It's not late for you, never. Name the structure numbered 11. What is, wait, let me do this. Name the structure number 11. Please remind me it's 11, okay? Name the structure number 11 and the chromosome composition of the structure. What is chromosome composition? Remember whether it's got half the amount of chromosomes or not, okay? So you've got diploid or haploid, 2N or N. Can you remember that? Okay? It wants to know which one is it. Okay? Number 11. Stick with me. We can do this right. Where is it? Number 11. There it is. Number 11. It's this white dot floating down to Mother Earth, to grow? Hey, what do you think, Looney? I had her intention and now I've lost her again. Starting to miss Looney. Number 11, what is it? It is a spore. Okay? It's a spore. It's going to make a new gametophyte generation. And what is it? Now, remember, the sporophyte generation is 2N. It goes through that process called meiosis to make a sex cell, which is a spore, which means we go from 2N and we halve it to make it N, and the name of N is haploid. So, let's have a look if we got this right. Spore and haploid, and it occurs during meiosis. Let's see. Okay, so it is a spore, 100%. Hey, what do you think? Okay, then it's haploid. Okay, I'm thinking I'm getting it right. And the last one went through meiosis. And a brain like mine must die one day. It scares me, hey? But I only get my answers because the guys are sending it. So don't think I'm too clever yet, right? Because you guys are sending it to me. That's the whole point. Now, last one. Well, not the last one, just the last one on this page. Okay, what is the main difference in structure between number 2 and a root hair? Okay, let's first go see what number 2 is. Number 2, there's 2. Okay, 2 of these little structures here again, and they're called rhizoids. Can you remember? And what's their job? To anchor and to absorb food and water, right? What is a root hair? Do you know what a root hair is?
Root hair.
What's a root?
A root is the foundation, the anchor.
Love the way you do that. The anchor of the plant, right?
Yes.
It's those funny things that go in the ground that soak up water. Now, a root hair is like an arm and a hair, right? A root hair.
Okay.
Now, a root hair also helps increase surface area so that it can be absorbed, right? So that's what a root hair does. But what is the difference between a rhizoid and a root hair? A rhizoid is made up of a lot of different cells, but a root hair is a single cell that's protruded out of the epidermis, the specialized epidermal cell, right? It comes out and it makes it's the single cell that comes out to increase the surface area on the epidermis, right? So that is, to me, that is the main difference of them. So let's see, right? Let's see. Rhizoid is multicellular, where a root hair is single cell. So let me underline that so you guys can remember it. It is multicellular. The rhizoid is multicellular, and a root hair is unicellular. Simple, easy, and 100% easy to get in a test. Okay, just concentrate and relax. Next question. Ooh, what is that? Hey, that looks like a flamingo with a beak. Oh, what do you think?
No, it looks like a bird's finger. The top part.
Claw.
A claw.
Ah.
Bird's finger. What am I talking about?
That there
Yes.
is the sporophyte generation of a moss at the top, and the bottom is the gametophyte generation of the moss.
It's the English.
You're
It's
perfect.
going. It's going.
It's going south. Right, now let's have a look at it. First question. Identify the structure labeled 4. Ooh, what is this? Okay, it goes on top of the capsule right in the beginning so nothing can just fall out. Okay, now what do you think that is? I'm going to leave it. Send it to Looney. Let's see if Looney can get it. Okay, I'm going to leave that gray. It's the last thing I'm going to ask you this time. Okay, and leave it gray to see if you guys are concentrating and listening carefully. Just throw in an extra one there. Next one. What type of reproduction, so what type of reproductive body is formed in the part numbered 3? By which process is this formed? So number 3 is in here. Okay, they want to know what, there it is, what type of reproductive body, okay, is made there and by what process. Okay, first of all, we are making the gametes. Okay, we're making the gametes. How do we make gametes? We go through the process of meiosis. So let's see. Making of Spores. Spores are what? They are your gametes. Okay, so you can say spores and you can say gametes. Okay, gametes would represent anything that reproduces. Okay, anything that does sexual reproduction. Okay, that would be gametes. Spores is just a specific word for the moss. Okay, so spores and meiosis. Don't forget my question. Okay, identify one. If I can get my pen. Identify one, name its function. Identify one and name its function. Identify one and name. Identify one and name its function. Come, Looney, can I see if you can do this? Identify one and name its function. Roots, nice. Okay, it's a thallus, which means it's not true roots, but it acts like roots. So what do roots do? What's the function? The anchor?
Yes, I was just about to say it, absorb water.
And absorb water. So we've got the function. Now we just need the name. Lily, can you give me the name, my girl?
What? The name of what now?
Of the non-true roots. Rhizome.
Yes.
Rhizome. Woo! I'm impressed in learning. Yes, my girl, that's perfect. Right?
Oh
So
my
rhizome,
gosh.
it anchors the plant and it absorbs nutrients and water. I have had an awesome day so far.
Yes.
Yeah? That's lovely. Next thing, write down the number of the part in which the drawing shows which represents the sporophyte. In other words, what part of is the sporophyte? So if we go up, which is the sporophyte, which is the gametophyte? Sporophyte and gametophyte. Which one's which? Now you can see they've got B and they've got A. So in other words, it divides like that. That's letters, am I right? They wanted to know, is it letters, is it A or B, or is it 1, 2, 3, or 4? They want to know which one. Don't make that mistake. Because if I come down here and it says here, write down the number, and I go along and put the letter B, right? The letter B. Looney, hey, the letter B. I'm going to get a single-digit round number. Do you know what that is? Single-digit round number.
0.
0, good girl, right? This here is number 2. Simple, easy. Number 2, right? And we've got another question. Let's go before because I'm starting to need a break here. What do you think?
Yeah.
So let's go. Give the name of the organ in which, so give the name of the organ in which female gametes on the plant are formed. Where does the female gametes get formed? Can you remember I gave you that big word? Can you remember? It was in the last one. Now, where are we going now? Stay back here. Let's go back. There it is. All the way down to the bottom. See what happens when you overexcited. There it is. Oh, well, I'll get back to it now. That female part, right? The female part, where does it get made? It's made in the, come on, think about it. The gametophyte generation. Where's the female part made? It's made in the gynecium. Can you remember the gynecium? Okay, it's either the gynecium or what is the other one? I want that other word. Okay, when I come back from the break, give me that other word. I think we need a break. Hey, Looney, what do you think?
Okay. You see now, I'm looking for okay, I'll take Mukove's one. Okay, so mine says Lou asked what's a xylem, what's a flow, and then Tapiso, Trisha, and Mukove made me look clever, so I'm going to read it now because now I know. Okay, so xylem is the vascular tissue in plants that conducts water and dissolves nutrients upward from the root and also helps to form the woody element. A phloem is the vascular tissue in plants that conducts sugars and other metabolic products downward from the leaves. Thank you for that, mindsetters. And then quick shout out to Karabo, Samkelo, Masejo, Dini D, Andy, Serame, Sharon, Tatenda, Tsaka Nesanele, and Shafa Mpobusi, Tikang, and yes, Mandela, Lucky Mpati. Thank you so much, guys, for tuning in. We will see you shortly after this break, so don't go anywhere. emakhaya namkelekile kule nkqubo yethu nguluni lo nolu. How's it, Lou? Gogo sizakwenza i-challenge question yethu. Now watch his face.
Okay, so let me tell you about the challenge question that you just said Lou will answer the challenge question for you. I was asking her to do it. I like how she changes language, hey?
Yeah.
But is it that bad?
Yeah, it just made me go for neck on everybody.
Oh, please. By the way, can you remember I asked you, what's a little cap? Okay, it's called your calyptra. Okay.
Yes, some people answered that. Apiwe answered it. Gatleho answered it. Yeah, a few. Salvi.
That's it. I love it.
Yeah.
What more could you want? Now, what is... Wait, let me get this right. Okay. Pen, yellow. Okay. Briefly explain what is meant by alternation of generations. Okay. Now, quickly explain it as quick as I can, and then I'm going to tell you. Because I asked Lernie to try and find it, but she looked at these words like haploid and diploid, and that was a problem. So let's have a look at it. Firstly, okay, when it comes to generations, alternation of generations, every single living thing that does sexual reproduction, right, goes through from diploid to haploid. Okay, so we have a diploid stage and we have a haploid stage, right? So all of us go through that. Okay. Now, the diploid stage, when it comes to moss, for example, right, the diploid stage, you will have your sporophyte generation, and your haploid stage, you'll have your gametophyte generation. Okay, so you get the two different parts. Now, alternation of generations, if I bring this down so that you can understand it, so it makes it easy, and I want to try and give it to you as easy as possible. Okay, here we go. I wrote it down so you get it. All plants go or undertake in their life cycles both haploid and diploid parts, right? Haploid will be half the amount of chromosomes, diploid, double, right? Then it says, the multicellular diploid plant structures, right, are called sporophyte generations. Remember I said to you, diploid, sporophyte, haploid, gametophyte. Okay, which produces spores. How do we make spores? We make it through meiotic division, right? It's an asexual way. Even this part, it's asexual, right? It's a division. Can you remember mitosis we made from one cell to another cell and both cells were identical? Meiosis is from one cell to another cell that is half the amount of chromosomes, so that one can go through sexual reproduction. Okay, then the multicellular organism, which is a haploid plant, you must remember, we're talking about moss here at the moment, right? We're just having a look at moss, right? That multicellular plant structure, where am I now? Structure is called the gametophyte generation. Remember, when that spore lands on the ground and it grows, right? It's a gametophyte plant. It's a plant all by itself. Okay? That plant lives, it breathes, it takes out nutrients, it photosynthesizes all by itself. It doesn't need to be a sporophyte generation, right? Okay? So that plant is called the gametophyte generation, which is formed from the spores, as I said, which give rise to the haploid gametes. Simple, easy. I hope you guys are getting this as easy as possible, right? Then, the fluctuation between these diploid and haploid stages that occur in the plant is called alternation of generation. Okay, now that is big. That is difficult to understand. Now, can you remember I explained it to you earlier, which is much simpler? There's a whole plant which is diploid, and there's a whole plant that is haploid, and they alternate. This plant alternates from the diploid plant to the haploid plant. That's what that whole thing is saying. And you guys need to learn how to say something like that. Speak life science. That's the whole point. Okay, so this is on the net, right?
Yes.
Yeah, it's on the net, so it's there. Try and learn it. You'll confuse your teachers at times, which is always awesome. Huh? They confuse me when they put this stuff down. Right, so let's have a look. I want to get you some multiple choice questions. because hopefully Looney can help me out with these ones. Right, let's have a look. Why are you giving them?
Eish.
Ish. I love it, Looney. Come on, my girl. Right, here we go. Bryophytes are terrestrial plants that have no what? Okay, they do not have a specific thing. Okay, let's see. Vascular tissue. Leaf-like plants. Water absorption structures and cellulose. Okay, first of all, what is cellulose? Okay, that's found in the cell walls. So it's got to have it. It's a plant, right? Water absorption structures. Will it have that? Will
Yes.
it? Definitely. It's called those R. What are they?
Roots.
Rhizoids.
Oh,
I
rhizoids.
love it to bits. Leaf-like parts. Does it have little green thingies that look like leaves that photosynthesize? Yes, it does. Leaf-like parts. Does it have vascular tissue? Does it have xylem and flow? What do you think? No, definitely not. Why not? Because remember, it was classified into two ways. You get the one side, which is vascular plants, and you get the other side, which is non-vascular. The bryophyte is the only one that is non-vascular. So in other words, it's A. Cool. Nice. Looney, I'm giving you a test after this, my sweetie.
No.
Right, next question. The sporophyte generation, see, I need to get a pen going here. Yeah, the sporophyte generation of moss consists of, okay, here we go. Rhizoids, which I reckon it does. Stem, leaf-like structures. Does, I reckon. Okay. B, foot, leaf-like structures, and sporangium. Oh, yeah, that's quite nice. Foot, seta, which is a stalk, okay, and sporangium, and then lastly, rhizoids, seta, and sporangium. If I have a look at that, they all look very similar, right? They all look very similar. Okay, let's just get things right. Rhizoid is a what? What's a rhizoid? It's a root-like structure.
Yes.
Very nice.
Yes.
Okay. If it's a root-like structure, I can tell you now, the sporophyte generation grows on top of the gametophyte generation. It doesn't need those anchoring thingies, rhizoids. Okay, it doesn't need the false roots. It needs something else, yes, but it doesn't need the roots. So that will take out A to me and D, which leaves B and C left. Okay, then let's see. Foot-like, it's a foot, leaf-like structure, and sporangium. Leaf-like structure. Did you see that long stem have a leaf? I didn't, right? I definitely didn't. What I saw was a stalk, right? I saw a stalk. I saw a sporangium, right? Am I right? And this is where the gametophyte generation was. And how does it stick to its thing on here? It's got a thing called a foot. So the answer is very simple. It is C. Foot, seta, stalk-like structure, and a sporangium. Okay, next one. What? These changing of these colors are brilliant. When a spore of the moss germinates, it gives rise to a what? Oh, I love this. I love this. Moss plant gives rise to a whole moss plant. Yes. Okay. Protonema. Oi. There's a big word, isn't it? Okay, so let's simplify it. It is the gametophyte generation, gives rise to sporophytes, and a prothallus. Prothallus, I remember, definitely not there. It's got to do with those ferns, right? So prothallus is out of the question. Okay. Then we've got the moss plant. It's the whole plant. That includes the gametophyte generation. It's everything, right? Can't be that. The only one that I can think of is gametophyte generation. And if I get to that, it is B, the gametophyte generation. Now, there's a couple of questions left. Go on the net and find it. I'll see you guys next week.
All right. Thanks, Lou. We love you. And goodbye. Yes. get the drift? Thanks.
She didn't mention one part, did she? But she loves you. That's all that matters. Right.
Yes.
Biodiversity
special,
of
man.
plants. Of course you know love me. I
course.
know. I feel the same way. The nice thing about this is we're going to do a thing called pteridophyta. And on that, you get a prothallus. And that prothallus is in the shape of a heart. Best time to do it.
Yes, you see?
Hey, how awesome is
Timing.
that?
Yes.
Sorry, that was just to start it off. Right, so let's have a look at it. In this lesson, right, different descriptions, we're gonna, and I remember to get a pen, right? Let's use pink, right? In this lesson, we're gonna look at how plants are classified. Classification is which order or where are they put, right? Then we're gonna look at alternation of generation. I know that's a huge word, but it's very important. Okay, it's quite cool. It is quite cool, right? Then we're going to summarize the main characteristics. We're going to have a look at the main characteristics of the 4 different types of plants that we get. So if we have a look, or 4 different groups, sorry, not types of plant, 4 different groups of plants, and they are Bryophyta, we get Pteridophyta, Gymnosperms, and Angiosperms. Those are the 4, and we're going to have a quick look at them, and then I'm going to give you some questions, right? And then we're going to look at the ecological importance of the 4 groups of plants. So why are they important in our world? Okay, which is big things. You can't just get rid of these plants, right? So Bryophytas, we're going to get there. Bryophytas are small green plants and do not have vascular tissue. They don't have vascular tissue. So if I had to put that into words of myself, now please understand, I am not Moss, but I have veins and arteries, okay? That would be round about the same as vascular tissues. So in other words, I have veins and arteries, they wouldn't have veins and arteries, so in actual fact you say moss does not have xylem and phloem tissue. Xylem does water, phloem does food. Okay, so they do not have xylem and phloem tissue. Therefore, they do not have vascular tissue. Nice and easy. Hey, I hope you're listening, my dear.
Mm-hmm.
Good.
Yes.
She hasn't got a clue yet. Right. As I was saying, they do not have this vascular tissues. Let me increase this page a bit so we can get up there. Then you get the rest of them, which is tracheophytes, which includes 2 types of plants, right? It is called the pteridophyta. Now me, personally, right, I like saying pteridophyte. I know it's not the real word, okay? But I do it because I remember the P. I normally forget the P. So it's pteridophytes, right? Don't forget the P. And which are called gymnosperms. And we start off. First thing, big question, right? Looney, do you think you can answer that question, huh? Or do you think you need help? I think you need help, huh?
Explain what is meant by alternation of generations in plants. No, I need help. A lot of help.
Explain what is meant, so you've got to explain what is meant by alternation of generations in plants. So, if you don't mind, I've always said when I ask a question, right, I become like a plank, nothing inside. You need to teach me something, right? So help Looney and myself out and answer this question for us. Hey, what do you think, Looney?
Yes, please.
Please,
help.
give it to me. Right, so let's begin. First of all, we're going to have a look at classification of plants, right? We know, well, in the beginning, they classified plants, right, as 2 different things. First of all, they took plants and put it as ones that have vascular tissue and ones that don't have vascular tissue. Now, you sitting back there and saying, what is vascular tissue? Well, let's get through it, right? As I said, through the evolvement or the evolution, okay, of plants, this is what happened. We're looking at plants, how it came from the most easiest thing to the most difficult. Because they say through evolution, you went from the easiest to the most difficult. Now, first thing, we classify it according to its vascular tissue, as I was saying. Now, vascular tissue is quite cool. You get angiosperms. Okay, pteridophytes are your specific plants. Gymnosperms are your specific plants, and your angiosperms are your specific plants. Right, so all three are different, and each one of them have vascular tissue in the form of xylem and phloem. Very nice, very easy. Right, so, Looney,
Yes.
can you please tell me what xylem and phloem is? See, I told you she wasn't listening.
Oh, man, Ace.
I do love it a bit. I'll keep that question for her. What is xylem and phloem? Because I did tell
Ace,
you.
man.
Now, moss, right? We're going to start with the most simplest plant, right? And then we're going to go to the most complex. So you must listen carefully so we can get this right. Okay, we're going to first have a look at the bryophyta, right? Now, the bryophyta, a simple bryophyta, is moss, okay? And moss has, what makes this thing important is that it's a thallus, and a thallus means it's got no true root stems or leaves. Let me do that again. No true roots, stems, or leaves, okay? That's the first most important thing. And the second thing is they go through this thing called alternation of generation. Okay, so they alternate between two different generations. Now, what does that mean? When I've asked people that before, alternation of generation, they were giving me these things about the
Hi there, guys. Welcome to the Mindsetters. You know, like, if I start the show off very weird or if I'm laughing, can only mean one thing. This. Looney and Lou are in the house, guys, to bring you an awesome grade 11 life sciences show. Lou, how are you?
all right, and yourself.
Good, thanks. What are we doing for the grade 11s?
Biodiversity of plants.
All
Huh?
right.
Which is what?
The plants.
Plants, I love it.
Yes, of course. Mindsetters, you heard it. We're doing biodiversity of plants. I'm going to learn together with you guys. Make sure you do get your notes, your videos, and the schedules on learn.mindset.co.za. And you hit us up on Facebook and Twitter at LearnExtra. It's the month of love, right? Like, yeah, February, Valentine's Day. So what we're doing on our Facebook page is that we want you guys to show your love by posting either a picture of you and your special person, or of you and your dog, or your cat, your little mouse, anything, guys. Just show your love. You must be in the picture, and make sure you hashtag it, show your love, and then tell us why it means so much to you. So, for example, I post a picture of me and Lou, and I'll be like, because Lou's the best teacher, and Lou always, like, teaches me, like, new things when it's life, like, stuff like that. So, you know, yeah.